I call the meeting of the Fiscal Committee for April 18th to order. And first on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes of March 21st.
So moved.
Moved by Senator Gray, second by Senator,
Carson.
who seconded?
Carson.
Senator Carson seconded. Is there any further discussion, any omissions or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The minutes are adopted. Nothing on tab 2. We have a consent calendar that covers tab 3 through 8. All the items on those. Is there any to be withdrawn? Any items that the Senate wishes to withdraw from the consent calendar? None? I thought I had some here.
25077
Okay.
on tab 3.
Okay, under tab 3, 25077 will be withdrawn from the consent.
25106 still under tab 3.
And also 25106 under tab 3. Anything further? I will note that
Mr. Chairman,
25094 has been withdrawn. And I think there was a replacement item of 25080. Senator Waters.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under tab 7, 087 and 088.
On tab 7, 087 and 088
Thank you.
will be withdrawn. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the remainder of the consent calendar.
So moved.
Motion. Motion by Senator Gray, seconded by Senator Rosenbaum, to approve the rest of the consent calendar. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The rest of the consent calendar is adopted. So we'll move first to item number 25077. Oh, all right, you wish to take up with number 9.
We had a request, if the chair will allow, we had a request to move tab 9 to the beginning of the calendar to deal with that one.
All right, move to tab 9. Recognize Senator Gray.
There has not been significant changes, in my opinion, since the decision that we made on the previous item here. The Executive Council has not acted on the $5 million that we approved. Therefore, I move to table.
second.
Motion by Senator Gray, second by Senator Carson to table item FIS 25103.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Let's see a hand count. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hands down. Opposed? 4. 6 to 4. The motion is adopted. That item is tabled. Thank you. All right, we'll return now to tab 3. And look at item 077, 25077. Senator Gray is recognized.
Police standards and training.
Is there someone here from Police Standards and Training? Thank you. Please identify yourselves.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members. For the record, my name is John Skippa, and I am the Director of New Hampshire Police Standards and Training. With me today is our business manager, Max Schultz.
Thank you.
I want to start off with some general comments and not specific to this item. But right now, the governor's estimate was that we were going to have an $80 million deficit in the budget this year. The $5 million that we approved through this committee, if approved by the governor and council, will move another $5 million into that we will have to take from the rainy day fund if I follow the budget. Plus the other things that were done in the budget that get me to taking $147 million out of the rainy day fund. So when I look through this and I look at police standards and training, there was an item in there that we talked about. Can I move that to next year? I mean, it's only a drop in the bucket, but I need to move those things that I can. So again, the things that are in there that are new equipment, a fence, all of those things, I can put them into the Senate's version of the budget if I move them out of here. And the Senate will vote on that, when it comes time. So I want to let you comment on the things that are in your budget that might be able to move from one year to the next.
Thank you, Senator Gray. We are also very cognizant of what the next biennium could very well look like. And it was our intention to make this equipment purchase in this fiscal cycle. The RFP process has been conducted. Candidly, we have already identified the vendors, and we were preparing to work with the vendors to sign those contracts when this message was conveyed to us relative to pushing off the purchase to the next biennium. In the first instance, we absolutely need the equipment. This equipment allows us to conduct a significant amount of training without having to rely on extra actors to come in from different police departments to aid in the scenario training. Right now, because of the reduction in force statewide, most police chiefs just don't have the ability to send police officers to help us during those times where we need the extra help to conduct scenario training. This equipment would certainly reduce that need and will serve us clearly for the next 10 years with regard to the technology that we're looking at. We are also very cognizant of the notion that with our proposed budget that we've put forward to meet the requirements that were set forth by the governor's office relative to coming in at 0-0, we were able to do that and without making sure that we can continue to deliver our services and not interrupt our operation. But we also recognize that there would just be no room for us to consider making this type of a purchase in the next biennium. And that's really our position. I don't know if that answers your question, sir, or not.
I understand your answer, and certainly it was similar to the written answer that I got through LBA. But I'm sitting here with, at least $80 million in a deficit. I do have say in what goes into next year's budget. And certainly, the members here are all members of Senate Finance. And certainly, if you do us a solid in moving that to next year, we can do you a solid in trying to get that into the next year's budget. Okay? I'm not going to vote against this thing, but you still don't have to spend the money, right? And through the budget process, if you want to come in and talk to me about what we can do and what we can't do, and this statement goes for all of those departments out there, okay? If there is stuff I can push into next year, I want to do it. And if I have to modify the budget to make sure that you get those funds in the next year, then that's something I've got to do.
We certainly appreciate that, Senator Gray. Thank you. And I don't know if it's helpful for this committee to also know that we anticipate about a $500,000 lapse out of this year's budget, if in fact we're allowed to make the purchase that we are proposing right now.
Your lapse is within, your lapse is actually going to be more, as I remember the lapse thing. But we're all in this together,
Yes, sir.
okay? And if I look at other related budgets to you, there is a deficiency in the lapse. And again, I'm trying to make a point here, all right? The governor, when she took office, she froze hiring, all right? This is another place that we need to look at to make sure that we're not spending money this year and have to take that money out of the rainy day fund.
Senator Gray, given that information, we would defer to you and to this committee to make the decision that needs to be made.
Again, I'm not going to vote against this, but that's, even if we vote to give you the money and give you the authority, doesn't mean it has to happen.
Thank you, Senator Gray.
Senator Rosenwald.
If we vote to make this transfer and you don't buy the equipment, will it add to your lapse?
Thank you for the question, Senator Rosenwald. Yes, it would.
Okay.
And I appreciate the question, Senator, because there is other very, very small transfers that are also incorporated in this request that we certainly would need to have happen if in fact this committee were to vote in favor of this. And those are very, very small moves, really just to help us keep the lights on and make sure that the building is getting cleaned and things of that nature.
Could have followed.
Follow up.
Thank you. So if we approve this transfer, are we to understand that there's an implicit agreement that you would not buy this hardware?
If
I'm just trying to put myself in Senator Gray's head.
If I might, Mr. Chair,
Senator Gray.
I'm not asking for them to do that, okay? They need to have discussions with the executive council. They need to have discussion with the governor. They need to decide. But what I'm trying to do is talk about what you do when your state budget is going to be in a deficit, okay? You don't go spending money in one department because another department is not meeting their laps. So I'm not asking for it. I am actually, after this conversation, I'm going to move to approve the item, but I want them to take a hard look. I want them to see what we can do. And the rest of the departments take notice, the same kind of thing, is that we need to cut that rainy day fund expense down to as far as we can.
Senator Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if this purchase is delayed potentially until next year, will there be any increase in costs in terms of training otherwise, or the price of the equipment? Would you be
Thank
able
you
to
for the question,
give us
Senator
a sense
Waters.
of that?
And in fact, obviously, we would have to just reopen the RFP process. We would have to put it back out to the vendors, wait for those responses. I can't anticipate whether those costs would go up or down. I think it's safe to say that it'll probably be more expensive. To what degree, I can't speak to that. And certainly, we would continue to conduct the training the way we're doing it now, again, relying on a lot of unpaid volunteer help to get that accomplished. Thank you, sir.
Further discussion.
Move to approve.
Senator Gray moves to approve 25077, and Representative Edwards seconds. Further discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Mr. Chairman,
Representative Leishman.
thanks. So I just have a quick question on the tabling motion. As we all know, we can't ask questions when the tabling motion comes up. I did have a number of questions that I wanted to ask, but more importantly, I wanted to see if the letter from Senator Carson was going to be discussed during the item 9 discussion, or, because I do support her suggestion that we have the LBA review what's been going on. I had some specific questions about her letter as well. Are you going to take that up at a later date since we disposed of item 9, or?
Senator Carson, do you mind if we discuss it later on or do you have, you're gonna have to be leaving earlier?
No, I'm here. We're having a finance meeting after, so,
Okay,
no, we can, whatever is your pleasure, Mr.
when we
Chairman.
come to item 9, we will bring it up again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, was 25-100 the next one we wanted removed?
106?
106.
25-106. Under tab 3. Department of Natural and Cultural Resources and the State Library. Senator Gray?
It's loading. With the general comments that I made before, I'll let you comment on anything that's applicable to you.
Thank you. We are obviously very cognizant of doing our share to help the budget for the next 2 years. And I just confirmed with our business manager that we have about $400,000 lapsed that will go back to you all for the budget.
And does that mean that you will have lapsed all the money that you are due to lapse?
Yes. Proudly.
Unless there's further discussion, I'll move the item.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Senator Gray moves to adopt item 25-106. Is there a second?
Second, Senator, I believe Senator Rosenwald.
Senator
seconded.
Rosenwald seconds. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is adopted. Next items are on tab, was it tab 7?
Yes.
Number 25087. Senator Waters is recognized. That's Department of Energy. Please identify yourself.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, Josh Elliott, Director of the Division of Policy and Programs with the Department of Energy.
Senator
Thank you,
Waters.
Mr. Chairman, and thanks, Josh. So it's going to be the same question on the next one. Basically, do you have this money? And is it in the account? Are you sure it's going to be in the account? And what happens if there's clawback?
Sure. Thank you for the question. So the way that these federal programs work is they're done on a reimbursement basis. So we have access to a portal system. There are a variety of different names depending on the relevant federal agency, but through U.S. Treasury, that we provide evidence when we've made expenses against those dollars. We then present those to U.S. Treasury. They then review and approve them, and the funds are released onto to the state accounts. So it's done on a reimbursement basis. So only when we incur an expense for a particular program do we actually pull the money from the federal government onto the state books. But there's this system that we go into that we can see that those funds are available for that use.
If I could follow up. And just technically on that, are you now being required to submit on a monthly rather than a quarterly basis for that draw?
We do it on each program is a little bit differently, and it depends on what the agreement is. But generally speaking, they're done on a monthly basis.
Okay, and if I one last one. So what happens if the money is not available when you ask for the draw?
At that point, we have a conversation with the governor's office as to how to proceed from there. So if they were to lock us out of the account or shut it down or something like that, that seems it's not just a technical glitch. We would have a conversation with the governor's office as to how they'd like us to proceed.
And I guess one last one. It's gonna be the same in the next one, Josh, so you'll be ready. Is there any way to try to expedite these expenditures so that we have more of the funding expended and therefore drawn?
Yeah, so we are doing our utmost to make sure that those dollars are drawn on to and drawn down to New Hampshire. Again, they're done on a reimbursement basis, so until the expenses are actually made, we can't just pull all the money down in one go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further questions? All right.
Move to approve.
Senator Gray
Second.
moves to approve 25087. Second
Second.
was Senator Waters. Further discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That's adopted. Stay there for the next one. 25088. Senator Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Josh, on this one, this is obviously one of our most important programs, the weatherization assistance program. And I have, again, heard that there has been for some states some difficulty in securing this money. And so it's the same questions. Can you, what are your, where are you at? Is there a way to expedite getting this funding out so that we can draw it if the spigot is going to be cut off?
Yes, thank you for the question. So for this one is a little bit, there's actual physical work being done. It's an existing program. These things have been up and running for a while. For those who aren't aware, the Weatherization Assistance Program provides weatherization services to low-income households across the state. We contract with the 5 community action agencies to actually go out to do the work, either themselves or they contract with contractors to do it. We cannot get reimbursements until the projects are actually done. So they go through a whole process. They go in, they do an audit, they take the appropriate measures that as suggested by the audit. The work is done. There's an inspection that happens afterwards. And once all that is done, that is all packaged up by each individual agencies. They send it to us for reimbursement. We pay them, then we pull the money down from the feds. So, any of the slowdown from that would just be a matter of having enough crews out there to do actually the projects themselves. That would be the limiting factor.
So, I mean, you understand the anxieties around these questions, and obviously you have to be very careful in auditing and everything else. But is there a way that you can work with the agencies and the contractors that you use to see if the work can be done more quickly? Because I fear if we don't get the money out, we're going to lose it.
Yeah, no, I understand the concern, and it's certainly not from a lack of trying either on the department's part or the community action agency's part to not get this money out as quickly as possible, but it's just a matter of that reimbursement basis. Until the projects are done, we have federal guidance that tells us you must accomplish these tasks before we'll reimburse you, and we have to go through those steps.
Well, thank you, and I will move to approve.
All right, Senator Waters moves to approve 25088, seconded by Senator Gray. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion is adopted. As I mentioned earlier, item 25094 has been withdrawn. Now we'll move to tab 9. And Representative Leishman wanted to discuss,
Did you want to do?
oh,
No, that's fine.
no, I think
Yep.
we're on the regular calendar now. Item 9 was the request by Representative Leishman to discuss the letter from Representative Carson to all of us. Representative Leishman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just say I agree with the Senate President's suggestions. I would like to add to that if I could. I think we've seen extremely high administrative costs, and maybe that would be covered. But I think we ought to look at that. And I had a question for the former Chief Justice, but I see he's left.
We can have it forwarded.
But some of on the item that we tabled, and I guess probably whether it's appropriate or not to discuss it at all since it was tabled, but I had some concerns about the interagency payment amount, which is like 25 million, $2.5 million and what that was for, but I don't think anybody's here to answer the
No,
question.
they left. If I may, Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Carson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your comments. I agree. I mean, I think we've heard some things about this fund that have raised some concerns. And I think we just need to get a hold of this, especially because we know this settlement fund is going to continue and the state is going to be continuing to put more money into this fund. We need to make sure that this fund is victim-centered, and that the victims are being treated appropriately. And so I think it's appropriate before we put more money into that fund that we get a better handle on this. I think we need more reporting requirements, especially to the Fiscal Committee, as to how the money is being spent. Right now, I think there's a quarterly report that comes out, but I think we need a lot more detail. And I'm approaching it from the fact that, you know, these are all public dollars. These are tax dollars. And the public has the right to know how these tax dollars are being spent. And if anyone would ask me, I really couldn't answer that question. So before we put more money into this fund, I just think we need to know what's going on with it, get into the details of this fund so we can ensure that it is victim-centered, that and that we're going to be able to pay all these cases. So that's why I've just asked for this audit.
Thank you. Further from Representative Leishman?
No, I just like to say I hope the committee supports her request, that's all.
Representative Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this, I think, is consistent with what Senator Carson just said. I'm looking at a report that has 3 columns type, total award, term of years. And I think the simple presentation of this information may be a little misleading because there's a, a contingency fee that's a portion of the total award, and that contingency fee isn't based on a set percentage, but on an acceptable range, and that the term of years that the contingency fee is paid out is a different and typically shorter term of years. And so this report is very victim-centric, but we're missing, probably 25 to 30% of the overall reporting by not splitting out the contingency fee into equivalent levels of detail. So I would ask that this report, if it's something we're going to continue to see, that it be a little bit more complete.
Sure, and just to, if I may, Mr. Chair, the report or the handout Representative Edwards is talking about is information provided by the YDC claims administrator. In further work, we'll make sure that we go into any better detail so you can understand the breakout between the different costs.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Kane.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, thanks.
Senator
I
Carson?
think we also need to look at the overhead, the administrative costs, and I'd like to include that within this as well. We were told, or I should say I was told, that when these claims are awarded, usually the attorneys were paid upfront.
Yep.
Out of the award, their fee came first. And then secondly, that many of these claimants are taking out these types of loans, settlement loans. We see them advertised on television with exorbitant interest rates. And we're paying those off too. And then the victim comes last. And I just think we need to look at this. I know that in 2024, when we passed legislation, we gave the administrator the ability to make payments over time. And this is the first time I've seen anything, and it's been almost a year, where it shows that these payments some of them are paid out over time, but we don't know what's the difference here. Why was one done as a lump sum? Why was done 5 years, 10 years? There's no rhyme or reason to any of this. And I think the people have the right to know, because these are their tax dollars, how these decisions are being made. So I just want to get that on the record, that we need to look at the overhead. We need to look at all the administrative costs. Thank you.
Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for the LBA. There'd been discussions about waiting for the executive council to act on the previous $5 million that was approved. My question is, what exactly is the role of the executive council in this whole process?
So in regards to the $5 million that was approved by the Fiscal Committee to be given to the YDC Claims Administration Fund, that's the first step. The second step is that the governor and council, for anything the fiscal approves for general funds, the governor and council have to approve that as well. So typically what happens, sometimes it happens at the same time, sometimes shortly after, is once fiscal approves an item for general funds, it has to go to the governor and council and be voted on for them before the Department of Administrative Services can actually draw that warrant and allocate those funds. That's a requirement in statute that's required for all expenditures from the executive branch.
I didn't think that governor and council had voted on the previous ones. Did any of us think that governor and council had voted on any of the previous money we'd given for this?
No, we don't. And that, Mr. Chairman, if I may, that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
We're just not being given information about how this is working, the steps that are involved. We just don't know. It's all been, I don't know. We just need more information. We need to.
Yeah, I guess the question is, how is this different than the previous funds we gave for the YDC settlement, that this one goes through governor and council, the others did not?
So the difference between the 100 million and the 60 million is that they were legislative appropriations, so it didn't come through fiscal committee. But any fiscal committee authorizations for general funds, be it Attorney General, litigation, judicial council funds, or any, does also require, on top of fiscal, GNC approval.
Thank you.
So it's the same process used for those.
Because it's fiscal.
Yes, because it's fiscal, correct.
Senator Rosenwald.
Has the $5 million been put on next week's executive council agenda?
I have not seen it on the agenda yet. It's my understanding and the claims administrator understanding that that 5 million initially approved by fiscal will go on next week's, I think it's the 23rd. It will go on the 23rd agenda, correct.
So it would be a later,
It could even make they have different deadlines for admin services, so it could be later, it could be the same day.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Okay, anything further on item 9?
Just-
Senator Gray.
I just wanted to comment on Representative Leachman's concerns about parliamentary. We, as this committee, has broad authority, when it comes to audits and things, okay? And so this discussion really did not enter into the amount of money that they requested this time. It, was processed, it was other things. So I personally find no conflict in the two things that we did.
Thank you.
If I could just comment, Mr. Chair, I've just always had a problem with tabling anything here. I always think it's good to have a good discussion and then move forward. The more information, maybe the better the decision, but anyway, we'll move forward.
Thank you.
And
Any
Mr.
other-
Chair, if I'm sorry. Mike Kane. Just for the public, because it's a little different than the rest of the agenda. So you are our bosses for the Office of Legislative Budget Assistant. So pursuant to RSA 1431.3, there have been instances where the Fiscal Committee directs our office into looking further into different subjects. This one, Senator Carson's requesting for the YDC, as outlined in her letter dated April 18th, which we'll also have posted. Just part of your authority over us and what we do. For all of you to understand, it's not going to be a complete audit. There's a quick turnaround time to May 19th. We'll have a performance auditor and a financial auditor actually work on this. We'll be calling Quinn and Paige Lorenz, and maybe a couple of other auditors, who will look into this. They'll watch the discussion today based on the additional information you're looking for. They're watching previous discussions you've had. And so we're going to report back with a letter to the committee preliminary on May 19th based on their work, and then a final one before the committee of conferences on June 6th. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Representative Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so Mr. Kane, I'm looking at Senator Carson's letter, and about the fourth bullet down, there's a request for claims settled each year, including, and then the third sub-bullet of that is amount paid to attorneys per settlement. Based on what I was saying earlier, I think if we could, with the senator's permission, maybe modify this a little bit so that we also get the term over which that attorney fee is paid. It was my understanding from listening to Mr. Broderick last time that some attorneys are accepting voluntarily up to 3 years delay in their overall payments. And so I'd like to be able to see that.
Yes, we can do that.
All right,
Yes.
thank you.
Anything further? All right, since we've
Just to
already
be
tabled-
official, if you just wanted to take a vote on Senator Carson's letter, that would be good for our office to move forward. It's similar to what you do for when we grant grant promotions or higher.
Senator Gray.
I move to have the LBA conduct the audit as described in Senator Carson's memo, along with the discussion that was happening today.
Motion by Senator Gray, second by Senator Rosenwald, as he just stated. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. That motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any informational items that the committee members wish to discuss? Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did just have a question or two on the HHS dashboard.
Which item?
HHS, that.
Okay,
It's 25099, I believe.
The one with the teeny weeny little type.
Yes.
So, hi.
Good morning, Nathan White, Chief Financial Officer with the Department of Health and Human Services.
Chris Santinello, Associate Commissioner.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I had two questions. Most of the information stops as of February. Some of it stops as of January. And I'm wondering why there's that multi-month delay.
Sure. So I think what's important to remember is the timing of deadlines. So prior to this fiscal meeting, the deadline for us to submit the dashboard was 22 days in advance. And we finish the February data, basically we're able to run the statistics on March 1st. And the deadline was on March 27th for this meeting. So we wouldn't be able to have the March data unless the deadline was into the next month at minimum. But then we also need some time to validate and review the data. So kind of as a result of those different steps, you're looking at data that's about 2 months old. I have been having conversations with the commissioner, and we have started some work internally to try to move the dashboard to a online digital format, similar to what you see with Mission Zero, the website that we set up there that we reference in the dashboard, to try to make that a little bit more up-to-date, visually accessible, and more malleable so that you can kind of play with the information as appropriate and visualize it better.
Thank you. And my second question is on table who knows? The type is so small. Table 12. It's about the shelters and institutions. In the last 2 fiscal years, the Glencliff census is way down. And just looking for an explanation of, did we have to close a wing, or can we not hire staff, or do we have a actual need that's less?
Sure. I think we can go back and talk to the team to get a more full explanation. There is a component in the mental health agreement right now that the census be capped at 75. So as a result of that, the census has been around that 70-75 mark. There are, I believe, approximately 2 full wings and then a smaller wing, a more independent wing that are currently open. As we, during the House phase, some of the members of the House heard us discuss some of the challenges relative to hiring, but there is an agreement that's driving sort of that cap census at this point in time.
Follow up, please.
Follow up?
Thank you. The mental health agreement you're referring to, is that the one that led to Mission Zero, or the 2014 Amanda G?
I think I would be more comfortable going back and making sure that I get all the facts straight, and then I can send a written write-up to give you a detailed assessment of that. But I know that Mission Zero was an independent mission within the department, and we've continued to make progress on that. And I believe as of yesterday, there was 0 waiting and 3 beds available.
Okay, thanks. That would be helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Representative Edwards for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I flipped through this a couple of times, seeing if I could see the wait list for the developmental disabled, and we have talked about this for a while, about how we're required to fund it, and so technically it always looks like we have 0 on the wait list for DD, and I'm just wanting to know if progress is being made to where we can report out a more actual wait list, a wait list that's reflects the lack of services.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Actually, typically every quarter at HHS Oversight,
Yeah.
Jess Gorton and/or Melissa Hardy do a report, and it's actually on the agenda next week, as to who's being served and who's waiting for services, even though they've had funding. So that report will be at Oversight Committee next week. But I think that's something we will take into consideration when we do the new dashboard, because traditionally we would come to fiscal for the fiscal piece, but most of that has been resolved. So we can add that to our dashboard so we don't have to do that in both committees.
All right, thank you.
You're
Outstanding.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Further discussion of the item? Seeing none, thank you very much. All right, if we're done with that calendar, we're ready to go to audits, I believe.
Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, all these audits have been released publicly. The act for earlier in the month, the liquor earlier in the month, management letter, the minute was put on to the agenda pursuant to the rules adopted by the Fiscal Committee. So you don't have to take a motion to release.
Thank you. Yeah, we got room over there on microphones if you wish. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, members. For the record, I'm Christine Young, Director of Audits for the LBA. As you know, we contract with KPMG for the annual audit of the state's financial statements. Joining us this year from KPMG are Jane Letts, the partner, and Allie Hines, Senior Manager. And also joining us from the Department of Administrative Services, our Commissioner Charlie Arlinghouse and State Comptroller Dana Call. And with that brief introduction, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Allie for the presentation of the report.
Good morning, Chairman, Legislative Committee.
Let's move a mic over within a couple inches. There you go.
Want the red light on?
Red light, right? Great. Thank you, Christine. As she mentioned, I am Allie Hines. I am the lead audit manager for the 2024 basic financial statement audit. Marie Zimmerman was the lead audit partner for the basic financial statement audit, consistent with prior years. She's been on the engagement as the lead partner for a few years now. The preparation of the annual report and completion of the audits is a testament to Dana and Christine's teams that work seamlessly with us. They bring up any questions or issues as soon as they are identified, and they also embrace our technology and keep the state's financial reporting integrity strong. We thank both of them for their help in collaborating with the financial statement audit. Included in your materials is our opinions and our required communications letter. So I'll highlight a few key items as it relates to those. For the independent auditor's report of the basic financial statements, we do perform the audit in accordance with government auditing standards. We issued a unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion that you can receive as the state. And that states that the financial statements are free from material misstatement and are presented fairly in all material respects. This includes the governmental activities, including the major funds, the business type activities, the aggregate discretely presented component units, and the fiduciary funds as well. Our opinion also does reference to other auditors that perform audits over various component units, and the largest one of that being the pension trust fund. Our opinion also does have an in relation to opinion for the required supplementary information, which includes the MD&A and the pension and OPEB schedules. And those schedules are audited in accordance with our basic financial statement audit as well. Our required communications letter does include 2 identified uncorrected misstatements and 1 corrected misstatement. We did receive communication from management in form of a management rep letter that attests that the 2 uncorrected misstatements are immaterial, both individually and in the aggregate, and do not impact the basic financial statements as a whole. We did not identify any material weaknesses as part of our audit. However, we did identify 1 significant deficiency related to management's review of the individual agency's capital asset reporting that's performed annually. And that is included in our report over internal control over financial reporting and compliance. Lastly, we had no disagreements with management and no significant difficulties as we performed our audit. This concludes my remarks for the financial statement audit for 2024. I'll open it for any questions, or if Dana and Charlie would like to add anything as it relates to the audit.
Representative Edwards has a question.
Thank you so much. I have a trivia question for you. On page 3 of the report, there's a nice wire diagram of the organization chart for the state of New Hampshire. And as I'm looking at it, I'm just curious, there's a couple of commissions out there that spend a considerable amount of money. There's the Governor's Commission on Alcohol and Other Drug Misuse, and there's also an opioid abatement fund. And I'm just curious, in this organizational hierarchy where those 2 items sit, and whether or not they ever get included in a general audit.
So trivia questions always come to me, I think. Those are both part of HHS. like the so-called Governor's Commission on Alcohol, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful name, but it's just a program. It's just with a goofy name.
So it's a program that you believe is already in DHHS?
It's in HHS.
All right.
So it does get audited. Those both get audited. They're just part of HHS.
Super, thank you.
Anything further?
I was just going to add, if I may, Dana Call, Comptroller. I want to thank everyone, obviously the auditors and our partners at the agencies. It took us a little bit longer this year to get the audit out, as you know, but we have a quality product to put out there, so we're happy with that. And starting next week, we'll be talking about closing fiscal 25. So we're rolling right into the next one. Any questions on the specific? Any accounting questions or anything I can answer? I'd be happy to take those.
Questions on the audit from committees? And Mr. Kane is distributing for the next one. All right, not for this one. So we've already accepted the audit, placed it on file, and released in the usual manner. So we don't need that motion. But if there's no questions, then we'll move on to the next item.
Okay, for the next report, the state's single audit report. Our office also contracts with KPMG for the audit of the state's federal assistance programs. The partner, Jane, will present the report. And also Charlie and Dana will be available as well for comments or questions on this report. And with that, I will hand it over to Jane.
Almost good afternoon, Chairman and committee members, and it's a pleasure to be here to present the report. As Christine said, my name is Jane Letts. I'm an audit partner with KPMG, been with the firm 30 years and have performed various single audits in many states across the country. So we just completed the federal funds audit, we call it the single audit, for the fiscal year end June 30, 24. It's due to be filed with the federal government within 9 months after year end, so due date was March 31st, and that was filed on time and submitted in the Federal Data Clearinghouse by management within that required time frame. So that audit is conducted in accordance with the federal Uniform Grant Guidance standards. This year, the schedule of expenditures of federal awards had $3.2 billion, and there was 25 major programs that were determined that needed to be audited in accordance with the risk assessment criteria that is outlined by the federal government. So there's one opinion in the report, but I would like to remind you that when you're issuing an opinion, you are actually opining on each individual major program. So the thresholds from obviously materiality and the procedures you're doing obviously are down at each major program level. So very different from the ACAFR audit that it is, the opinion is on each major program. So with respect to those major programs that we audited, we did have 34 findings that were included in the report. And I would like to highlight there was 10 clean 10 clean programs that had no findings. There was one program, the Fish and Wildlife Cluster, that ended up with an adverse opinion, and that was a result. There was 4 findings related to that particular program. When you obviously have pervasive non-compliance with the program, it does impact the opinion, and it was an adverse opinion for this fiscal year end. Those related to subrecipient monitoring, activities allowed, matching, and CFA reporting were the findings that were related to that particular program. There were 14 other programs that had qualified opinions. So the federal government does put out an OMB compliance supplement, and we perform our procedures in accordance with the compliance requirements that the feds outline. And then we look at the internal controls related to the compliance to make sure that there are appropriate internal controls. So there's obviously a level of compliance that we evaluate. Is it material non-compliance? And if it is material at the program level, then we obviously have a qualified opinion, and then we have to evaluate the internal controls related to that compliance requirement. And there were some of them had material weaknesses, and then there was obviously a couple significant deficiencies. So Dana had a chart that I think that she was going to share or talk about. But one of the things I do want to comment on is each agency has to put together a corrective action plan for each one of the findings. Now, if it is a qualified program or the adverse program, we will be back auditing it again as a major program next year. So we will follow up on that corrective action, and then we will be reporting back to this committee again on what the status is, as well as the federal government will obviously be reviewing those corrective action plans and making sure that they are comfortable that it is appropriate to address that noncompliance or that internal control. That's kind of the summary of the report that you have in front of you. The other things that I would just highlight is that we did not have any disagreements with management. Everybody was very cooperative with providing all of the information, and we are independent with respect to New Hampshire for both the financial statement audit as well as the single audit to be able to issue our report. Thank you.
Representative Edwards for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious about the level of detail of some of your auditing. I'm often asked about Medicaid eligibility and whether or not we're really making sure that only New Hampshire residents that are authorized to receive Medicaid are actually enrolled in the program. To what extent, if any, do you sample eligibility to assess whether or not we're doing that correctly?
The manager that does, we both audit the eligibility program, but we do actually a sample of eligibility. And I can actually have Allie can talk to you about numbers of sample sizes and stuff that we do.
Yes, so as part of our, there we go. As part of our testing, we do select a sample of 40 individuals that were paid out Medicaid claims throughout the year, and we test each individual for meeting the specific requirements to be eligible for Medicaid. We go directly into the system and have screen shares with the HHS individuals that are determining the eligibility and ensuring that we're all seeing the same thing, that the person's properly eligible, and that the claim was properly allowable.
Follow up?
Oh, okay. So you sampled 40. Would you happen to know the result, or did we go 40 for 40 on clean eligibility, or did we have some issues?
Correct. We had no findings over eligibility, so we were 40 for 40.
That's confidence inspiring. Thank you.
Senator Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I wanted to get some further comment on what was said about the procedures between audits to follow up on deficiencies and other things. And in part, I'm reflecting upon some audits that we've seen where it's many years have gone by and they have not addressed certain things. But I wondered, is there a way on some of these, would it be that a legislator might ask, or that as the process of review of the deficiencies goes forward, if it looks as if the deficiency may be caused by an inadequacy of technology or need for upgrade, or that there might be legislation that's required to accomplish certain things, how are we going to know between each audit?
There are a couple of ways you would know. First of all, the single audit is very different from some other audits in that there's a process for a corrective action plan. There are emails that are sent out and reporting that's required. We have a dedicated staff person, Steve Giovanelli, who some of you might know, who does follow up with that and is generally a burr in the saddle of an agency who had a finding of any sort. I mean, to the point where occasionally I get complaints where he keeps asking me to fix the thing that they found we were doing wrong. And I tend to have to say to the person who complained to me, yeah, he's supposed to. And so in this particular case, there are quarterly reports. You are required to confirm that you have a corrective action plan, that you are executing it. If there's something that's causing you an inability to be compliant with the federal government's requirement for you to receive their money, you have two real options. The one is to stop asking for it, because if you can't comply with their requirements, you shouldn't take it. And so we tell people that if you don't think you can comply with whatever requirement they have, even if you think it's stupid, don't take the money. If you take the money, comply. Second, if there's something you don't have where you think to yourself, yeah, but I don't have a truck, a computer program, a fence, some random thing, you ask for it. And so it's actually a great thing where so many things that an agency wants, needs, would make their operations better. They don't have a real good hook when they go to fiscal, when they approach budget officers, when they go to GNC. But if complying with the federal rules, that's a great hook. So they'll ask. And if they don't ask, they're just being silly. And if they're being silly, I don't have a lot of sympathy for them. But for the most part, they'll ask. So this is a process that more than anything in state government is built in for regular compliance. You'll get audited again. And asking. And part of it is, I mean, as an example, we have an adverse opinion this year. I don't want to gloss over that. That's a big, big deal. And we've not had one in the last 25 years. But the point is that we looked this century, and I doubt Dana went back further because it would require a lot of dust. We haven't had one before. And it's a sign of how well we do, because you can get an adverse opinion in large measure by, I think the word they used was pervasive noncompliance, but not fixing stuff. And so it's a sign we are fixing stuff.
I may follow up. So thank you for that, Ellie. And so I guess the question is this kind of informal process then, if you see something that probably needs to get into the budget or otherwise we need to know about, you tell us, rather than having some kind of updates in here or elsewhere as to any things that are arising between the audits where you think there's compliance or other needs issues?
To the extent that we find anything, we don't just sit on it for a year, and we would initially take it up with the agency and say, hey, you got to do this. To the extent that there's something they don't have that they need, they would say that, and we would say, you got to go to fiscal, you got to ask the governor, you got to go to GNC. The truth is that that's rarely the case. I mean, occasionally people will say I'm short-staffed, right? And that's an issue. Nobody's overstaffed that I'm aware of anyway. And that's not going to change in the next budget, I'll tell you that. So they're going to say that, but the truth is that that's a reason to not apply for a federal grant. It's not a reason to not comply with a federal grant. And everybody gets that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm looking at the recent table you got passed out in 2024, cluster with adverse opinions. You have one. Can you refer me to the page where I would read that?
Yes, in the Schedule F, which is in your book, it's labeled, well, actually, I tabbed the page.
Yeah,
just-
Appendix F, I'm there.
Appendix F, it's page F13. It's, as we mentioned, the Fish and Wildlife Cluster had 4 findings starting on F13. We have met with the agency. They're here today if there are specific questions, but we have already begun discussions on how they can turn this around in the coming year. So,
Thank you. Further questions from the committee? Representative Leishman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for your presentation. So I understand that KPMG does not audit things like the liquor or lottery fund because it's done by other auditors. Is there a reason we don't, commissioners, send those out to this group to look at them? Or I know in the explanation it says we've accepted and reviewed their audits and just take them for what they're valued, I guess.
The short version is that technically the LBA is auditing in every case. The LBA audits liquor, the LBA audits the executive branch of the state. And KPMG is merely an agent of the LBA. And so in that sense, the LBA, and I'm sure there's an internal process which they can discuss with you, decides our own staff or do we need Ally? and that's sort of the process they go through, but they could
I
do it
would-
themselves.
They could. I would just add there are some component units such as the retirement system, the community college system, that university system that are audited by other firms.
Judicial
Yeah.
retirement.
So those are, so that LBA doesn't have a role in that, but between what they have a role in, it's either LBA or KPMG.
Okay, thanks. Thanks,
Sure
Mr.
enough, I
Chair.
could, Mr. Chair, just if Christine could kind of add, Christine's been here for 30 years already. So she has a history of why liquor and lottery are done by our office specifically. So if you just want to provide them kind of the background on why we do that.
Sure. Many years ago, gosh, I don't know how many years back now, KPMG had audited lottery and liquor. And we've been auditing lottery and liquor for the past, 7 or 8 years in a row, I believe. But that's a decision that we can make, and we're authorized by statute to either contract out our audits or do the audits ourselves.
Further questions? Senator Gray.
I would like to give Fish and Game the opportunity to come up to the mics, maybe over there, and provide any comment they want.
Is Fish and Game here? Going to take the side table and turn on those microphones.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman, committee members. Dr. Stephanie Simic, Executive Director for New Hampshire Fish and Game. You want to introduce yourself?
Kathy Labonte, Chief of the Business Division.
Yeah, I think as stated, again, I'm here maybe 4 months, 5 months now. So this audit came through and we met with both Commissioner Arlinghouse and Dana, and we talked through the audit. We are making steps right now to see where we can adjust some things to take care of some of the accounting pieces within New Hampshire First. Our objective, and I can let Kathy speak to this more because she's actually doing all the hard work on this. But anyway, our objective obviously is to try to get it more in line with the New Hampshire First program and make sure that things are accounted through that, so a tracking of expenses can be at least monitored from the time it was expended all the way through to the inputting into the state system. One point I do want to make is I do want to state that this is not a misuse of funds. I want to clearly make that stated. I don't want the public thinking it's a misuse of funds. It was simply more of I think, an accounting of where the funds went to, how they were tracked through our system. The agency was using an external accounting calculator to ensure that the state was being reimbursed fully for the full cost of an employee that worked on a project. I'm not sure that that's capable in our New Hampshire First system as it is right now. So I do think the state was trying to do, or the agency was trying to do the state justice, albeit it was not the process that we're supposed to follow. So we're going to correct that. But I do think as moving forward as the state, we probably want to look into seeing if there's a new mechanism that we want to introduce into New Hampshire First. But nonetheless, under my administration, we will make sure to get on the same track and make sure that we're aligning with what needs to be occurring here in the state. And if there are any further questions or concerns about that, I'm happy to work with either Commissioner Arlinghouse's agency or even the auditors if we need to, or each of you independently if you have questions about things. Additionally, I will say there were quite a few comments about putting policies in place, and I do agree. I think I want to take a look at all our policies and review them all. I think we have some room for improvement on some of our policies. Kathy, I'll turn it over to you.
If I may add to that, we have taken steps in the business division to work away from our subsystem and begin using New Hampshire First directly. There are some challenges with that. So it's going to take some time to meet those challenges and to work through those challenges. Our goal right now is to begin the next fiscal year, July 1, 100% free of our subsystem and work directly in New Hampshire First. However, please keep in mind, we are going to be visited by KPMG for fiscal year 25, and this transition will not occur until fiscal year 26. So we are taking those steps, but you will probably see the same type of finding for fiscal year 25.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director. And, I just did want to say, I know, a few months now, I'm sure it feels like you hit the treadmill on fast. And I appreciate the situation you came into with a lot of issues that are from grant activities previous to your arrival. But my particular question is, could you speak a little bit more about, I noticed some things about, QuickBooks and the technology, and that's mentioned. Do you feel you will be able to have the appropriate technology upgrades to accomplish things moving forward? Are there any kind of, we heard mention about the timing of when some certain systems, but
Right.
If you have anything more to mention about that.
Certainly at this point, assuming status quo with our funding and where we are right now, we will be able to migrate into New Hampshire First, but nothing beyond that. As far as advancing our technology, I do have a request in for an IT request for additional funding, which would then advance this agency to be more efficient and effective. And your point earlier was well made, because I do believe that is part of what has happened to this agency, and that's why we're in this predicament today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the thoroughness. And I guess we'll be ready for the next audit. Okay, I guess we're going to do liquor.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the next presentation is the audit of the Liquor Commission financial statements. This audit was performed by our office. With me is Jim LaRiviere. He was the audit manager in charge of the Liquor Commission audit this year. And also joining us is the chairman, Joe Malika, and the chief financial officer, Tina Demers. And with that, I will turn it over to Jim for the presentation.
Good afternoon, Chairman Weilers and members of the committee. Again, for the record, my name is Jim LaRiviere. We are here today to report the results of our audit of the financial statements contained in the Liquor Commission's annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. The financial statements begin on page 25. The Liquor Commission's management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Our auditor's report and opinion, dated March 14, 2025, can be found on pages 15 through 18 in the financial section of the report. As noted in the opinion paragraph on page 15, we issued an unmodified or clean opinion on the Liquor Commission's financial statements, which also includes the notes to the financial statements. While our opinion speaks directly to the basic financial statements and notes, no matters came to our attention that caused us to believe that the required supplementary information and other information in the financial section of the report was inconsistent with the basic financial statements. Auditing standards require we make a number of disclosures to you. These disclosures are included in the other required communications handout that was provided with your report. I will not go through each of them individually. However, we would like to bring a few matters to your attention. On page 2 of the handout, we discussed with management certain financial statements misstatements that have not been corrected in the Liquor Commission's books and records. The Liquor Commission corrected the most significant misstatements. We reported the uncorrected misstatement to the Liquor Commission's management and received their written representations that the effect of the uncorrected misstatements is immaterial, both individually and in the aggregate, to the financial statements taken as a whole. Also, on page 2, in the audit risk assessment section, we identified 2 significant financial statement level risk, one of which included risk of errors in financial accounting and reporting resulting from the Liquor Commission replacing its legacy computer system with a new system on March 29, 2024, to integrate its point of sale system, supply chain management, and financial activities. As a result of the new system implementation, the Liquor Commission experienced difficulties obtaining unusable system reports for performing timely reconciliations of its financial activity from the new system to the state's accounting system in the last quarter. Due to the increased risk, we increased our testing sample sizes in the last quarter of the year. Also noted on page 4, on September 24th, 2024, the Liquor Commission contracted with an independent certified public accounting firm for audit support and accounting services. These services are described on the bottom as noted in the bulleted list at the bottom of the page. We found those services to be necessary and help facilitate our audit. In accordance with government auditing standards, we will be issuing a report on our consideration of the Liquor Commission's internal control over financial reporting and other matters as a byproduct of our audit of the financial statements. That report will be included in the management letter, which will be presented to the committee at a future meeting. This concludes my presentation. I'd like to thank the Liquor Commission management and staff for their assistance throughout the audit. And with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn the presentation over to the Liquor Commission, who can provide management's perspective on the Liquor Commission and on their report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Chairman Weiler. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Joseph Malik. I'm the chairman of the Liquor Commission. And as Jim has stated, our CFO, Tina Demers, is with us. I'd like to thank Christine, Jim, and the LBA for all the work that they've done. I'd also like to thank Tina and her staff. Obviously, changing from a 40-year-old system to a new D365 system has been challenging and very rewarding. The system itself is in good shape and running well. The accounting piece of it has been something that we've needed to work with the LBA on, and Tina's team has done that. We feel that we're in very good shape moving forward. Obviously, there was 3 months of the new system and 9 months of the old system when they started this. So the biggest thing for us when we changed over that system was that the consumers in the stores never recognized that there was a change happening, and that was a successful piece of the launch. We're very happy with what we've done. The sales nationwide in alcohol are down for obvious reasons that I'd be happy to discuss, and I'd be happy to discuss any questions with you might have. Thank you.
Questions from the committee members on the audit? I see they list 15 new bills that have passed to hopefully assist what's going on. Were any of these requested by you or your division?
As far as the bills that are coming through,
Yeah.
well, there's a bill to eliminate the enforcement division of the Liquor Commission. That's a bill that we obviously do not support, and I do not feel that our licensees and the people in the state would support it either. It would leave the Wild West for anybody in the alcohol business and for all the 6,400 licensees that we have, both in-state and out-state, and put millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, quite frankly, at risk.
Representative Edwards, any comment?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to track along with it. I did see a page when I was going through this where the legislation was highlighted, and I'm having trouble. So I was whispering to Representative Urf if he knew what page the legislation is listed on.
Page 6, maybe what you're talking about?
Which page?
Page 6.
Some of that was-
Yes, that's it. Is that, and so this is legislation that has not passed yet. So this is prospective legislation and not past legislation? Is that what this list is meant to do?
Those are the ones that have passed within the fiscal year.
Okay, I was confused because I didn't think that we had yet passed an abolition of the liquor enforcement people. That's not,
That's correct. That was just a confusion. My taking of that question was that anything that was upcoming. So
okay.
my misstep.
That is in HB2. There was discussion on
correct.
this committee, as you noted, some time ago after that 300-page audit on the Liquor Commission. We found that the enforcement branch was getting away from what you and I would probably consider their task, which was to investigate all the many places that served liquor to see that they were complying with the rules and the laws. And that didn't require a badge or an arrest. Same as we have people in OPLC go out and look at people that are licensed, and they can go up and take away their license. They have that authority. We thought that was all the authority they needed. They seem to be concentrating on doing sobriety checks, which I don't think was intended when this enforcement division was created. So it was felt that they were spending more time on that, which was kind of a side thing, and neglecting the inspections. And at the time we read the audit, they were neglecting some of the inspections in favor of doing some of these other side things that we didn't feel were their main focus. So that was why that went forward from the House. The Senate reversed it, but there are still members that remember that audit and think that.
To correction,
Yes.
HB2 is still in front of me. We're still in the department. I don't even know when the commissioner is scheduled. It's either this week or next week.
Monday.
To come Monday.
Yes, sir.
So he will be able to address that at that time. And we certainly do understand what the House was trying to do. And we'll take that into consideration when we make any changes that we need to House Bill 2.
I just thought I should elaborate on it a little further why that ended up in there. As
Thank
you
you, Mr.
remember, it had been
Chairman.
in there before. We got some reports on what subsequently we've had reports to Fiscal Committee on what was being done by enforcement, but the tenor of those reports didn't seem to notify the number of inspections. They were notifying, again, we saved a life at the side of the road and this sort of thing, which we didn't feel were what that enforcement division was supposed to be doing. But that was all, we got very abbreviated reports, and none of them mentioned the things that we expected to hear about, how many inspections had been done and how many violations they'd found within serving places, et cetera. None of those reports seemed to detail that sort of thing. So we wondered, are they still trying to go out and act like policemen rather than doing the job that we all believed that was their description? That was why I thought I'd bring that up.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Edwards.
Thank you. So I want to ask a question. I thought I was hearing from page 6 to page 8, there are 15 2024 bills that passed. And so I guess this is your turn to audit us. How did we do? Are there any of these pieces of legislation that you're struggling with that don't seem to make sense in the implementation of the law? Is there anything you want to give us feedback on and how we could be a more supportive legislature?
Thank you very much, Representative. No, not at this point. I believe that in looking at this and knowing what's gone through last year, I think we're supportive of everything that has passed. We have a lot of support in the Senate and the House, and obviously from the governors that I've personally worked for and have supported the Liquor Commission for years and the mission of the Liquor Commission.
I know we've discussed before how the sales seem to be affected by the cannabis sales, that causing you to have fewer sales than you might ordinarily have. You have any suggestions for us, anything we could do?
Well, we happen to have a heat map that I'd be happy to have Tina pass out that will be in the Senate next week. But this is a trend that's happening nationwide, and obviously cannabis is a huge piece of it. The health concerns of youth are a big piece of it, and the baby boomers aging out of the market is another big piece. But you can see from this heat map that was done by SipSource, which is an independent sourcing company of alcohol information nationwide, that both spirits and wine on and off premise, broken down by these regions, is off considerably in the United States. You can see that the Pacific Rim is the largest effect, with spirits on and off premise being down over 17%, and wine on and off premise being down over 19%. Where the East Coast, the Northeast region that we're in, our wine and spirits combined are down 10.5%, and the wine is down 14.8%. So you can clearly see the trend of the United States when it comes to wine and spirits sales, both on and off premise. It's a huge decline.
Appreciate the data, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I should probably know this, but do our stores sell non-alcoholic wines and wines?
We sell both non-alcoholic cocktails and non-alcoholic wines, and it's something that we're obviously ramping up and looking into. We jumped on that sales point probably 4 years ago, and the trend wasn't happening yet, so it didn't meet its sales criteria. But the largest growth in the spirits industry and wine industry is low and no alcohol products. So we are now expanding those selections in our stores, and you'll be seeing in the near future those sections in our stores completed with both wine and spirits.
Great, and I'm sure we'll be talking more on Monday.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Thank you.
Senator.
Anything further? I've always been impressed with your business-like approach, having witnessed what went before you. I think it's an improvement, and I appreciate your management.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We have a great team at the Liquor Commission. It's a wonderful group of people, and I've enjoyed my many years in working with them, so thank you.
Anything further? All right, we've already accepted this audit. Appreciate Mr. LaRiviere's usual thorough investigations. Thank you, sir.
Okay, last but certainly not least is the Lottery Commission Management Letter. This audit was performed by our office, and with me here is Kimberly Bisson. She is the senior manager from our office who was responsible for the audit. And also joining us is Executive Director Charlie McIntyre, Chief Financial Officer Jim Duras, and Chief Compliance Officer Cooley Arroyo. And now I'll turn it over to Kimberly for the presentation.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kimberly Bisson, a Senior Audit Manager with the LBA Audit Division. I'm here today to present the management letter. It's a byproduct of our audit of the lottery's fiscal year 2024 financial statements, which were previously presented to this committee at the January 30th meeting. If you turn to the table of contents, you will see the report includes 4 internal control comments, none of which are identified as material weaknesses, and 2 compliance comments. The lottery concurs or concurs in part with all 6 comments. Observation numbers 3 and 5 suggest legislative action may be required. A summary of the observations is provided on pages 3 and 4, and the observations begin on page 5. Observation number 1 recommends lottery take steps to mitigate the risk of reliance on the performance of one key employee by expanding its financial accounting and reporting staff and formally documenting key processes. Turning to page 7, observation number 2 recommends that lottery perform an evaluation to determine the proper accounting treatment for Mega Money jackpot games activity and formally document the process and management approved policies and procedures. Observation number 3, beginning on page 9, recommends that lottery take steps to mitigate potential segregation of duties conflicts between lottery responsibilities and Tri-State Lotto financial accounting and reporting responsibilities. Great. On page 11, observation number 4 recommends lottery strengthen and document its prize claim reconciliation controls. Moving on to the compliance comments, observation number 5 on page 14 recommends lottery evaluate whether the Council for Responsible Gambling's administrative attachment to lottery conflicts with the council's administrative duties. If deemed to be conflicting, we recommend lottery seek statutory revision. And finally, observation number 6 on page 15. Sorry about that. No. Sorry. Recommends that lottery strengthen its vendor monitoring processes through the establishment of formal policies and procedures and collect insurance certificates to ensure coverage is in accordance with contracted terms. The appendix located behind the tab on page 17 reports the current status of observations contained in the fiscal years 2023 and 2022 Lottery Commission management letters. As noted on page 19, 5 comments were fully resolved and 4 were in the process of remediation. This concludes my presentation. I would like to thank Lottery's management and staff for their assistance and cooperation during the audit. And with your permission, I will turn the presentation over to Executive Director McIntyre.
Thank you, Kimberly. Good afternoon, members of the Fiscal Committee. I'm Charlie McIntyre. I've had the privilege of being the director of the lottery for the past 15 years. And with me is our 2 senior managers, Cooley Arroyo, our Chief Compliance Officer, and Jim Duras, our Chief Financial Officer. I find that finding one is essentially going to support Jim's reclassification request for his job title, as in he's an important individual in our management. And his process of the annual report this year, while difficult, he managed to do it on time, even though that was a very difficult process. As you can imagine, one of the difficulties we've had over the last 15 years is we've gone from what was a very traditional lottery to a very digital lottery in the sense of offering number of verticals. And the growth of our revenue has gone from 62 million to 207 million over that same time and continues to grow, and as you folks have seen. So I want to thank Christine and Kimberly and the folks at the LB for their efforts, and happy to answer any questions you folks have.
We thank you for your thoroughness and your increases in the monies that have gone to education. It seems to be a black hole that never sees enough. But we have a lot of faith in what you do, and I guess this present budget puts even more of a load on you because of your good performance in the past of all of you. I see a couple of write-ups here that say may need legislative fix.
Yes.
you're going to have to make a decision on number 5, whether you want to rearrange that or whether you think it's legislative. Get in touch with me. I will be the sponsor of any legislation. I will ask perhaps some of the members here to be co-sponsors, but we've got time. I can't file till September. So whenever we work out what we want in that legislation, let me know, and you and I will work on it, or you and I and staff.
Well, to that point, I believe there's hopefully a fix coming out of the Senate that exists now as a attachment to another bill. And so I worked with Senator Lang on that. And so I will
Very good.
certainly apprise you of it when it comes back again.
That would be great, because then it could be fixed quicker.
Correct, yes.
Senator Gray.
Page 19, your one outstanding finding from 22. I at least want to give you the opportunity to tell me what your next step is and what your estimated completion is. If you don't have that information now, then I'll take it outside the meeting, but
Of course, briefly, I can tell you we are working on some new regulations and rules that are going through the process of drafting now that'll then go through GELCAR, and the item that is lingering from 2022 is included in that process.
so when do you expect to be in front of GELCAR with your rules?
I don't think we firmed that up quite yet, but I can certainly
That's
update you
the
offline
reason
on
for the
that.
question, is to
course.
get you to do that. Okay.
Understood.
Of course.
Thank you now.
Anything further from the committee? Congratulations on another successful year. Appreciate all the work you people do. I guess that's why, when you do good work, we give you more to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you. All right, I guess the next thing we'll look at, anything else other than next meeting, Mr. Kane?
No.
So if we look at the third Friday in May,
I don't know about the rest of the members on the committee, but the 11 o'clock works better for me than the 10 o'clock has in the past, so.
and it
just
lets
a
us have a
comment.
10 o'clock pre-fiscal, so it works fine for all of us.
Just a reminder on is it the 16th?
Yeah.
We have the Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Association.
Yeah, the law enforcement
The annual.
memorial.
That takes a good part of the day, doesn't it?
We usually have fiscal during that.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, just wanted to remind everyone.
Yeah.
Well, the next Friday, I think I have a county, the Friday the 23rd, I have a county executive committee,
It's a 3-day weekend. Too.
which takes the morning usually. Thursdays are relatively, well, I don't know if we'll have a session on that Thursday or not. Likely.
I think that if people can be there on that Friday, I mean, it's unfortunate that the memorial is usually on the same day that we're doing it, but, you know, we need to get on with our business, and that Friday probably works best.
I think Marie already put it on my calendar, so it has to be.
Yeah. We can listen. The 10, it's at 10.
Yeah, it says here 10 to 11, so.
Yeah. But we should check because some of the side streets will be blocked and, yeah. Because usually the streets are blocked, so. Yeah, you can still.
Yeah, they've always made arrangements to get us in,
Okay.
because I've been here other days when
Yep.
they had that.
Okay, but I'm just talking about, the agency folks and
Ah.
anybody else. So
figure it out.
that's just the concern that, they'd have to park further away and so. That's okay. Well,
Should we try to have it earlier?
No.
no.
Just schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah. Okay.
With the exception of those that park on the street.
Yeah.
Hey, I've parked in Store Street before and walked over,
Yeah, so did
I know how to do it.
That's right, you know the way.
It'll be nice, so it'll be a nice walk.
Yes, the weather will be good. All right, so
Yeah.
11, on the 16th. May 16th, 11 o'clock. We'll have a pre-fiscal at 10 for the House members, which is always well attended, I'm happy to see. Thank you. All right. That work?
Sure.
All right. Thank you all. We are adjourned.